For 80 years, cancer treatment has operated under one assumption. When drugs stop working, the cancer has mutated and become genetically resistant. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if the real reason chemotherapy, immunotherapy, and antibody treatments fail is not because cancer cells outsmart the drugs, but because the drugs simply cannot reach the cancer cells? A Korean biotech company, Hyundai ADM Bio, now renamed Penetrium Bioscience, claims to have uncovered a paradigm-shifting truth. They call it pseudo-resistance. And the solution they have built around it, a first-in-class drug called Penetrium, could fundamentally change how the world fights cancer. Today, we examine the science, the preclinical data, and the global clinical strategy behind what may be the most important shift in oncology in decades. To understand Penetrium, you first need to understand why cancer is so hard to treat. Every solid tumor is surrounded by a dense structural barrier called the extracellular matrix, or ECM. This matrix is produced by cancer-associated fibroblasts, or CAFs, specialized cells that the tumor hijacks to build a fortress around itself. The ECM acts like armor. It physically blocks immune cells, antibodies, and chemotherapy drugs from reaching the cancer. But here's the critical insight that changes everything. Every time chemotherapy is administered, the ECM becomes stiffer. Every round of treatment that fails to kill the tumor makes the barrier harder to penetrate next time. Oncologists have been calling this drug resistance. Hyundai ADM calls it pseudo-resistance because the cancer cells themselves have not changed. They are not genetically resistant. They're simply hidden behind a wall that gets thicker with every treatment cycle. This is what the medical world calls a cold tumor. In immunotherapy, the distinction between hot and cold tumors determines whether treatment succeeds or fails. Hot tumors are infiltrated by T cells. The immune system can see and attack them. Immune checkpoint inhibitors like Keytruda work brilliantly on hot tumors. Cold tumors are different. They are encased in fibrotic ECM so dense that T cells cannot physically enter the tumor. No matter how many immune checkpoints you unlock, if the immune cells cannot reach the cancer, the treatment fails. This is why immunotherapy response rates plateau at roughly 30 to 40% across most solid cancers. The remaining 60 to 70% of patients have cold tumors. The drugs are not failing. The delivery is failing. And until now, no one had a viable solution to turn cold tumors hot. Penetrium is designed to do exactly that. Its mechanism is elegantly simple. Penetrium selectively softens the stiffened extracellular matrix around tumors. It dismantles the fibrotic barrier produced by cancer-associated fibroblasts, restoring physical access for immune cells, antibodies, and chemotherapy drugs to reach the cancer. Critically, Penetrium does not kill cancer cells directly. It is not another cytotoxic agent. Instead, it removes the structural barrier that makes other treatments fail. Think of it as unlocking the gate to a fortress so the army can finally enter. The active ingredient is niclosamide, a 60-year-old deworming agent with known anti-cancer properties. The problem was always bioavailability. Niclosamide is virtually insoluble and is destroyed by the liver before it can reach therapeutic concentrations. Penetrium solves this through a proprietary inorganic hybrid drug delivery system that achieves 43 times higher absorption than conventional niclosamide formulations. The preclinical data presented at the 2025 American Association for Cancer Research annual meeting in Chicago are remarkable. In triple-negative breast cancer, the deadliest form of breast cancer with the fewest treatment options, Paclitaxel chemotherapy alone reduced tumors by only 4.55%. Worse, it increased lung metastasis by 115%. The chemotherapy was making the cancer spread. When Penetrium was combined with Paclitaxel, tumor volume decreased by 36%. Lung metastasis was reduced by 85.78%. The combination did not just stop the cancer from spreading. It reversed the metastatic effect of chemotherapy. In the anti-PD-1 immunotherapy combination, tumor burden decreased by 48.3% compared to immunotherapy alone. Lung metastases that were present in the monotherapy group were completely eliminated in the combination group. Zero metastasis. The Bevacizumab antibody combination data is equally striking. Bevacizumab alone achieved 33% metastasis suppression. When combined with Penetrium at 100 milligrams per kilogram, lung metastasis dropped to 0%. Immunohistochemistry confirmed that MMP9 and VEGF expression, two key molecules that promote metastasis, were significantly decreased only in the combination group. This confirms that Penetrium normalizes the ECM at the molecular level. Perhaps most compelling is the canine mammary cancer model, which closely mirrors human breast cancer biology. Primary tumors shrank by 38.7% compared to 21% with monotherapy. Metastatic lymph nodes showed up to 79% tumor volume reduction. Necrosis within the tumor was observed within 3 days of treatment and expanded with repeated dosing. The tumor was literally dying from the inside. The implications extend far beyond breast cancer. Because pseudo-resistance is driven by the extracellular matrix, and because virtually all solid tumors develop ECM barriers, Penetrium's mechanism is tumor-agnostic. It does not target a specific cancer mutation. It targets the universal structural defense that all solid tumors share. This means the same drug could potentially work against pancreatic cancer, which has the densest ECM of any cancer and a 5-year survival rate below 10%. It could work against prostate cancer, non-small cell lung cancer, bile duct cancer, and colorectal cancer. Hyundai Bioscience is pursuing pancreatic, prostate, and bile duct cancers. Penetrium Bioscience is targeting triple-negative breast cancer and metastatic lung cancer in combination with Keytruda, Merck's blockbuster immune checkpoint inhibitor. Both companies received clinical trial approvals from Korea's FDA in 2025. But Penetrium's potential does not stop at cancer. The same extracellular matrix dysfunction that drives pseudo-resistance in tumors also drives autoimmune diseases. In rheumatoid arthritis, the synovial tissue becomes fibrotic and forms a destructive structure called pons. In multiple sclerosis, fibrotic lesions damage the myelin sheath. In Crohn's disease, intestinal fibrosis drives chronic inflammation. Penetrium's preclinical data in 4 major autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, psoriasis, and Crohn's disease, showed efficacy in reducing pathological ECM without suppressing normal immune function. This is a critical distinction. Current autoimmune treatments like methotrexate and biologics work by suppressing the immune system, leaving patients vulnerable to infections and cancers. Penetrium targets the structural pathology, not the immune system itself. The company plans to enter phase 2 clinical trials for rheumatoid arthritis, skipping phase 1 based on existing human safety data from COVID-19 trials. The global clinical strategy is accelerating. Professor John Isaacs of Newcastle University, a world authority on rheumatology and immunology, has joined the Penetrium clinical design team. Professor Frederick Millard of UC San Diego is also contributing to the global trial strategy. An investigator-initiated trial for acute myeloid leukemia is being prepared in France. The Penetrium plus Keytruda combination trial for triple-negative breast cancer and non-small cell lung cancer received IND approval from Korea's FDA in December 2025. In February 2026, the company renamed itself from Hyundai ADM Bio to Penetrium Bioscience, a declaration that the company's entire future is built around this single platform technology. The prostate cancer phase 1 trial is already underway at Seoul National University Hospital, led by Professor Young Chong-wook. If the clinical data confirms what the preclinical results suggest, the implications are profound. For 80 years, oncology has treated drug resistance as an intrinsic property of cancer cells. Penetrium proposes that resistance is largely a structural problem, and structural problems have structural solutions. Imagine a world where pancreatic cancer, with its notorious 5-year survival rate of 8%, becomes treatable because drugs can finally penetrate the tumor. Where triple-negative breast cancer patients have a viable option beyond toxic chemotherapy. Where immunotherapy works not in 30% of patients, but in the majority. Where metastasis, the process that causes 90% of cancer deaths, can be suppressed by softening the matrix that enables cancer cells to spread. This is not a cure for cancer, but it may be the key that unlocks the door to one. The company behind this technology is listed on the Korean Kosdaq Exchange under ticker 187660, currently named Hyundai ADM. Following shareholder approval in March 2026, it will be officially renamed Penetrium Bioscience, a declaration that the company's entire identity now rests on this single, world-changing platform. The world will be watching as Penetrium moves through global clinical trials in 2026 and beyond.